Imagine waking up and realizing your entire family is about to be deleted from existence. Most kids wake up wanting cereal, but our poor heroine is greeted by the sound of shattering porcelain and a man screaming that her family is asking for a beating. This little nugget is Li, or as we'll call her, the legitimate granddaughter of the Marquis Manor, and she is absolutely terrified. Mother, wake up, hurry, our family is about to be raided, screams, shaking her mother with her tiny, trembling hands. Her mother, Songya, finally blinks her eyes open, offering a gentle, sleepy smile. Did you have another nightmare? Don't be afraid, Mother S here, she coos, trying to soothe our frantic girl. But isn't just having a bad dream, she's sobbing because she knows exactly what's coming. You see, realized her world is actually a storybook titled after changing husbands. I rose to the peak of life. The heroine of this story, that would be Aunt Songhui. In the original timeline, Aunt Songhui married the Marquis heir, but the family was raided and she died a tragic, miserable death. Meanwhile, Smother married a poor scholar and ended up living a life of boundless glory as the wife of a grand chancellor. But here's the kicker, Auntie decided to pull a pro-gamer move and regressed. She immediately swapped husbands, choosing the poor scholar for herself and leaving Smother to marry into the doomed Marquis family. Now Smother is the one destined for a life of abuse, exile, and a cold, lonely death. To make matters worse, today is the Mid-Autumn Festival, the exact day the nightmare begins. In's vision of the future, things are beyond savage. She sees her grandmother being beaten to death while trying to shield her. Her father tries to protect his wife, only to be ruthlessly bludgeoned by the guards. Her mother's fate is even darker. And herself ends up being sold into a brothel. Don't be afraid, it's all just a nightmare, her mother whispers, pulling her into a warm hug. But knows her dreams are actually spoilers. She once dreamed the family cat would die and the next day it was gone. She even predicted a massive flood that turned the back garden into a lake. Her mother tries to tuck her back in, promising to stay with her, but is in full-blown panic mode. Mother, we can't sleep anymore, at dawn the Imperial guards will be here, she wails. She tries to explain that her father has been framed for embezzlement, but her mother just yawns and tells her they'll chat about it after breakfast. Suddenly, the sun hits the window and's heart drops. A booming voice echoes through the manor. By imperial order, Prince Shen is here to raid the estate. Everyone come out immediately. Songya freezes in shock as an official begins reading a decree. His father is accused of substituting inferior goods in the state granaries. Guards storm the courtyard, screaming at the servants to move as they begin the systematic destruction of the household. Search everything, the leader roars and can only cling to her mother, realizing the nightmare is playing out frame by frame. The evidence is found instantly, chests of gold and scrolls that shouldn't be there. His mind is racing because in this empire, corruption usually ends with a one-way trip to the executioner's block. Just then her grandfather, the Marquis, storms in, demanding to know where his unfilial son is hiding. Songyi is a mess of tears, explaining that her husband is already at the censorate. He turns to Songyi and asks if her brother-in-law, the one the aunt married, was just transferred to the censorate. Sneak into the room and write a letter for help, he instructs, hoping the brother-in-law can pull some strings to salvage the family. Songyi lights up with hope, thinking her sister and brother-in-law are good people who will surely save them. She's ready to promise them the world just to clear her husband's name. But as she reaches for the brush, lunges forward, her face pale with horror. Mother, you can't write to aunt. In the dream, our exile happened precisely because of this letter. We'll be able to stop her mother from signing their death warrants, or is the heroine's trap already closed? Our girl R knows that if her mother picks up that brush, it's game over for the entire family. In her past life, her father was framed for embezzlement by the very people they trusted most, her own aunt and uncle. While her family suffered, that backstabbing uncle used a plea for help as proof of bribery to score a promotion from the emperor. The result, a one-way ticket to exile for the entire Marquis household. That snake literally climbed the social ladder using his own kin's blood as a stepping stone. R isn't about to let history repeat itself. She grabs her mother, begging her to see the truth as the house is swarmed by guards. Mother, you absolutely mustn't write that letter, she pleads. Her mother is still stuck in delusional land, thinking her siblings are helpful and righteous. Since her mom is a devout believer, pivots to the only thing that'll work. An immortal granny told me everything in a dream. But then the family's resident hothead grandfather storms in. He demands they write to the uncle immediately, but literally puts her body on the line to block her mother. If we beg for help now, it'll only make us look guilty, she shouts. Grandpa is losing his mind, thinking they're just sitting around waiting for death, and he starts hurling insults at his father. When Mom finally sides with, Grandpa goes full angry old man, shoving our poor girl to the ground as he storms off to write the letter himself. Is bruised, but her brain is working overtime. If that message leaves the house, her father's guilt is set in stone. She watches as Grandpa tries to sneak a message out the back window. Time for some chaotic good energy, lunges forward, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Grandfather, there's no one guarding the back window, run, quick." The guards, who aren't exactly idiots, immediately swarm the escapee. Grandpa is absolutely fuming as he's hauled back inside, his secret plan blown to bits by an 8-year-old. Plays it up, hiding behind a guard and whimpering, "Uncle, save me." The guard actually thinks she's a total cutie, completely unaware that this silly granddaughter just systematically dismantled her grandfather's mistake. Grandpa threatens to beat her to death later but doesn't blink. She's got a family to save and she's just getting started. Mom is finally starting to realize isn't just playing around. Points out the obvious, since Dad didn't actually steal anything, the guards won't find a single coin of stolen silver in the house. While Mom wonders if her daughter has been replaced by a mini genius, is already busy drafting a new plan. She hands her mother a freshly written note pointing toward a lavish carriage outside. That carriage belongs to Prince, the Emperor's favorite brother. If wants to flip the script and save her father, she's going to need a much bigger player on her side. Prince Shen might only be 12 years old, but the kid is already a legend, leading 50,000 imperial guards with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless. The word around the palace is that the Emperor is basically grooming him to take the throne next. Our girl R knows that if they want to save her father and the rest of the family, this pint-sized powerhouse is their only hope. Her mother is terrified, but she finally steals her nerves, saying, "All right, I'm willing to give it a try." She approaches a guard, desperately trying to hand over a letter, but the guy isn't making it easy. "Don't even think about bribing our prince," he barks, shutting her down immediately. Our girl's mom doesn't back down, insisting that the letter contains the one thing the prince cares about most. The guard looks skeptical but finally tells them to wait while he takes it inside. Of course, the family's grumpy old uncle starts losing his mind, screaming that the prince is a violent, cold-blooded monster who just annihilated an entire clan last month. When the letter is seemingly rejected and torn to shreds, the mother collapses in despair. Even our little heroine is confused, wondering if she wrote the message too simply for the prince to understand. The uncle starts ranting, blaming them for dooming the family, and even raises his hand to strike R. "If you want to beat someone, do it to me, don't scare," her mother cries, shielding her. But just as the old man is about to lose it, the guard returns and grabs his wrist, stopping him mid-swing. The uncle immediately flips the script, stuttering that the mother and daughter's actions have nothing to do with him. Little R isn't fooled and asks, "Uncle, does the prince want to see my mother?" The guard is actually impressed by how sharp she is and confirms that the prince has requested an audience with Madame Song. The uncle is practically vibrating with fear, convinced the prince is going to execute her personally, and he literally pushes them away so he doesn't get dragged down with them. R knows her mom is shaking, but she realizes an 8-year-old's words won't be enough. Her mom has to be the one to speak. Still, she isn't letting her mom go in alone. She looks up at the guard with those big, soulful eyes and begs, "Please, uncle," is very well behaved, she won't say anything wrong. The guard's heart totally melts for our girl, and he agrees to let her tag along. As they walk toward the prince's carriage, R whispers some final encouragement to her mom, knowing their father's life depends on this moment. They kneel outside the palanquin, trembling as they pay their respects. A voice from inside, cold enough to send chills down anyone's spine, simply says, "Enter." R grabs her mother's hand, promising that since Granny gave her guidance, everything will work out. But the second they step inside, a massive red-eyed wolf lunges at them with a terrifying snarl. Her mother screams for her to watch out, but instead of running, our girl just smiles and hugs the giant beast. "In my dreams, I've played with it many times," she says, calling the wolf Snow Eagle. As the wolf turns into a giant puppy in her arms, a voice tells the beast to come back, and we finally see him, Prince Shen, lounging like a king and looking every bit as dangerous as the rumors suggested. Mom clings to our girl, trembling as the prince commands his massive wolf, Snow Eagle, to stand down. He's not exactly the forgive and forget type, immediately ordering the beast to be punished with a 2-day meat fast just for getting too close to the commoners. As the guards drag the whimpering wolf away, they're convinced R used some dark magic to charm the creature, and they're even more certain the prince is about to end her life for it. R stares back, her big eyes hiding a mind that's far sharper than any 8-year-old should be. Looking at the young prince, she remembers him from her dreams, a man who once saved her from a living hell only to lose his own life because of her. Seeing him now covered in the blood of her memories, R knows she has to change the future, starting right now. "Mom, don't be scared," she whispers, stepping forward to face the icy royal. Her mother is a mess of tears. begging the prince to save their family, but he just sneers, "I never save useless trash." He leans in with a wicked glint in his eyes, offering a single, terrifying condition. Mom is willing to do anything, 10 conditions, 100, it doesn't matter, as long as her husband is safe. But the prince's demand is sick. He says Snow Eagle loves plump meat and he thinks R looks like a decent snack. "Take my flesh instead," Mom screams, throwing herself in front of her daughter. The prince doesn't blink, telling her to get lost if she can't handle the price. "But our girl isn't a victim. I'll do it," R shouts. "I'll feed the wolf as long as you clear my father's name." The prince is actually stunned. Is this tiny kid really not afraid of him? Mom is losing it, begging R to stop. But R just peeks over her shoulder with a smirk. "Think about it, Mom," she whispers. "The prince just banned the wolf from eating meat for 2 days, which means I've got at least 48 hours to live." Talk about a loophole queen. She tells her mom she has a plan, looking far too confident for someone destined for a wolf's belly. Mom is terrified of gambling with her daughter's life against a man who kills without blinking. But R turns on the charm, calling the prince amazing to butter him up. He sees right through the flattery, calling it childish. But the deal is struck. Mom agrees to the condition, hoping this is their one chance at survival. The prince is genuinely amused that a toddler outsmarted his wording. He pivots back to the case, pointing out that the evidence of corruption against R's father is rock solid. Our girl is fuming at his arrogance, but she keeps her cool. Mom tries to argue about the handwriting in the records. But the prince shuts her down, saying the signatures match perfectly and they should leave before he loses his patience. Mom is on the verge of a breakdown, but R leans in to whisper a secret that changes everything. Mom suddenly remembers a hidden treasure, a love poem her husband wrote her 8 years ago. She begs the prince to compare the old poem with the recent evidence, certain he'll find the forgery. The prince goes silent, staring at the paper. He and R lock eyes across the table in a silent battle of wills. After examining the handwriting, he finally barks an order to his man, "Hold off on the confiscation, station men here." His gaze is intense. And when he asks why they're still standing there, Mom is too shocked to move. R just smiles, the first hurdle is cleared. But just as they turn to go, the prince's voice cuts through the air. "Wait." Mom freezes, terrified he's going back on his word, and the nightmare is starting all over again. As our girl and her mother step out of the carriage, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Inside his own quarters, the cold and calculating prince stares down at a report, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. He isn't taking any chances and barks an order to his guard, "Go investigate Li Mu's daughter. I want a complete account of her life from the moment of her birth until now." R steps back into the family manor, only to be met with a frantic and skeptical grandfather. "The prince spared your life? How is that even possible?" he demands, practically vibrating with anxiety. Our poor heroine's mother can barely find her voice, stammering out, I think he did." This answer isn't good enough for the old man, who loses his temper immediately. "What do you mean you think? Why did you not obtain a clear answer? Go ask him," he roars. But R isn't about to let this man bully her mother. She glares right back, snapping, "Since you are in such a hurry, grandfather, why not ask him yourself? He has not yet departed." Outside, the situation goes from bad to worse as guards lock down the perimeter, declaring that no one is permitted to enter or leave. As the prince's men begin hauling away chests and equipment, one guard carries out a very specific wooden box. R's heart sinks as she realizes what's inside. They are father's paintings, she thinks, her eyes wide with realization. She knows exactly what the prince is up to. He's going to compare the handwriting, and all they can do now is wait for the hammer to fall. Anxiety grips the household as a full day passes in agonizing silence. The family sits in the dim light of the next day, looking like ghosts of their former selves. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps approaches the gate. Two guards stand firm as a woman arrives, looking like a picture of grace. It's Aunt Song Hui, carrying a basket of food and claiming she's just there to support her sister. The guards show a rare moment of mercy, giving her the time it takes for a single stick of incense to burn to visit. But as soon as R sees her, her internal alarm bells go off. This is Aunt Song Hui, the reborn heroine from the original book. R realizes that since the family hasn't been exiled like the original plot dictated, the aunt is getting restless. Song Hui bursts into the room with crocodile tears, crying out for her sister. She grabs the mother's hands, cooing, "You must be terrified. I'm here now, don't be afraid." She plays the part of the doting aunt perfectly, offering R sweet chestnut cakes. R looks at her smiling face and remembers how she used to admire this woman's poise. But she knows the truth now. While her mother might be weak and cry easily, she's the one who would actually sacrifice everything to protect her. Meanwhile, this perfect aunt is a snake who can push a family into the abyss while wearing a beautiful smile. R's rage bubbles over as she silently crushes the cake in her tiny fist. Song Hui moves on to the Marquis, offering him refreshments and acting like the savior of the family. When the Marquis questions where she's been, she plays the blood is thicker than water card. She acts deeply wounded by any suggestion that she'd abandon them, claiming her husband in the censorate is already working to help. The Marquis brings up a past grudge involving a painting, but Song Hui dismisses it as a total misunderstanding. She continues her performance, insisting her husband is upright and generous, while R's mother sinks further into guilt for doubting her. Song Hui then turns up the heat, scolding them for approaching Prince. "You were far too reckless," she cries. She begins painting a horrific picture of the prince, calling him volatile and bloodthirsty, reminding them that he murdered his own family. She leans in, whispering about skinning victims alive to ensure the mother is paralyzed with fear. Finally, the snake reveals her true goal. "Sister, how much money do you have left? Hand it all over so my husband can start greasing some palms," she demands. When the mother explains everything was confiscated, Song Hui's eyes gleam with greed. She asks for the private seal to the family's dowry shops so she can manage them before the guards close them down. She claims it's the only way to preserve her brother-in-law's life. Hook, line, and sinker, the mother is so desperate she's ready to hand over the family's last lifeline. But just as she reaches for the seal, a small hand slams down. "Mother, no," R screams. Our tiny leader isn't letting this fraud walk away with their future, standing her ground against the woman who thought she could rob them blind. Our girl is officially done playing nice. Our poor heroine is looking absolutely devastated as she asks her daughter what's wrong. Little R doesn't miss a beat, clinging to her mother and crying out that she's just so hungry. Right on cue, their kind Auntie Song Hui swaggers in, claiming she's only there to talk about saving R's father. She offers a snack, but our girl isn't falling for the sweet relative act. "Auntie, did you forget that mother and I get rashes and swollen lips if we eat chestnut cake?" she asks, her eyes wide with feigned innocence. She basically calls her aunt a liar right to her face, noting that if she really missed them, she'd remember something that basic. Mom steps up too, confirming that she's told her sister a dozen times about their allergy. Auntie Song Hui starts sweating, quickly switching to a plate of plum blossom cakes and claiming she was just in a huge rush. But our girl's mother isn't a pushover anymore. She realizes that the aunt emphasized the cakes were freshly baked, meaning this wasn't a mistake, it was a targeted move. Despite the awkwardness, the aunt doubles down on the drama. "Brother-in-law is in critical danger, what is there to think about?" she demands, pushing them to agree to her plan. R looks up with those big sparkling eyes and asks, "Auntie, do you and Uncle truly believe my father was framed?" The aunt puts on her best fake smile, saying that's exactly why they need the family's money to save him. But R is 10 steps ahead. "If relatives should help each other, then why can't Uncle just go help father directly?" she asks. She drops the hammer with a cheeky grin, shouting, I get it now. Auntie and Uncle just want the money." The aunt's face contorts in pure rage. "What are you talking?" she screams, losing her composure instantly. She turns to her sister, demanding to know the meaning of this disrespect. She's internally panicking because her useless sister has never looked at her with such cold, piercing eyes before. Seeing the vibe shift, the aunt tries to play the victim, whining, "Sister, surely you won't misunderstand me too." But Mom is finally awake. She coolly tells her sister that R has a point. If they really wanted to help, they wouldn't start by demanding cash. The aunt tries to explain that you have to grease a few palms to get things done. Meanwhile, our genius girl R is connecting the dots. She realizes the aunt is trying to trick her mom into handing over money so they can claim the Marquis Manor is trying to bribe officials, which would frame her father even harder. "I won't let her succeed," she vows to herself. R gives her mom a look and Mom takes the hint. Putting on her best I'm broke face, Mom cries that her shops have been in the red and she hasn't made a single penny all year. R jumps back in for the finishing blow. "Since you're so sincere about helping, why don't you cover the costs for us first?" she suggests with a grin. The aunt's true colors leak out as she stammers that her family doesn't have any spare silver either. Internally, she's seething, thinking she'd never waste her own money on them. The aunt runs to the Marquis, R's grandfather, complaining that her sister is being stingy and ready to abandon her husband. The old man, who is clearly part of the problem, glares at our heroine. "Your sister is right, stop wasting time and do as you're told," he barks. He claims only a close relative like the aunt is truly willing to help, as they loom over our poor heroine. R decides it's time for a little performance art. She runs up to her grandfather and begs, "Grandfather, do you have any money? Take it out quickly to save father." The old man recoils, shouting that he doesn't have any money. R blinks innocently, but mother doesn't have any money either. Does grandfather think she can just conjure silver out of thin air? She then asks if he knows a magic trick to make money, looking at him with sparkling expectation. Losing his temper, the Marquis yells at her to get out of the way. Our girl and her mom immediately collapse into a puddle of despair, wailing about their bitter lot in life. The aunt is absolutely disgusted. "Stop crying and just give me the money," she snaps. Thankfully, a guard interrupts, announcing that time is up and they have to leave. The aunt stomps out, cursing the fact that she wasted all that time and didn't get a single cent. Inside, R wipes away her fake tears with a satisfied smirk. Her mission is accomplished. Her mother finally sees the aunt's true colors. But outside the manor, things are getting spicy. The aunt is losing her mind because the story isn't matching her memories from her past life. She realizes she's going back to her husband empty-handed, and she needs evidence to ruin the Marquis manor. A wicked light enters her eyes as she comes up with a backup plan. "In that case, I'll just forge a letter for help," she sneers, determined to pin whatever charges she can on our girl's family. The prince looks over the evidence stacked on the desk, his expression unreadable. Steps forward, practically begging for a pat on the head, as he explains he found substandard goods in the warehouse and signatures that match Li Mu's perfectly. His superior is singing his praises for being so efficient, but our prince isn't buying what he's selling. Is already dreaming of a big promotion, thinking he's the guy in the room for throwing his own family under the bus to impress Prince. But the prince just lets out a cold, unimpressed. Suddenly, he chucks the files right at the man's head. "One word, stupid," he barks, and honestly, we love to see this trash official get humbled. Tries to play it cool, arguing that no criminal would ever admit to their crimes, so a confession isn't needed. But the prince asks the real questions, like if he even bothered to cross-reference the handwriting. He orders the other officials to take a closer look and tell him what they see. On one side, we have Li Mu's official ledger, and on the other, a private letter. The officials immediately realize the brushstrokes aren't even close. One is elegant and fluid, while the script on the records is rounded and delicate. Starts sweating bullets, desperately claiming that maybe Li Mu is just a master of two different styles. "Perhaps," the prince growls, asking if the censorate now investigates based on mere guesses instead of cold, hard facts. Immediately backtracks, trembling like a leaf as he realizes he's in deep trouble. The prince points out a fatal flaw: Li Mu always omits a specific stroke in the character to honor his grandfather's name. The officials look at the logs, and sure enough, that stroke is right there, clear as day, meaning Li Mu didn't write it. While the officials realize this is a total frame-up, is panicking, praying his wife arrives with the confession he needs to save his career. Right on cue, a messenger arrives with a letter from his household. He reads it and thinks the heavens are finally on his side. He presents it with a flourish, claiming Li Mu's wife, Lady Song, has confessed everything in writing. He tells the prince that she's admitting to the embezzlement just to clear her husband's name. His superior is impressed by such principled family members, falling for the trap hook, line, and sinker. Is ready to wrap this up and send Li Mu to the chopping block immediately. But the prince just sits there looking bored as he watches the circus. "Bring Li Mu in," he commands, his voice dripping with ice. Our poor guy is dragged in, looking every bit the disgraced prisoner in his white robes. This is Li Mu, the man whose life is currently hanging by a thread. Screams at him, demanding to know what excuses he has now that his wife has confessed. Li Mu drops to his knees, shouting that his wife would never write such a thing. Tosses the fake letter at him, calling him a fool and waiting for him to break. Li Mu takes one look at the paper and starts laughing his head off. "Who wrote this? The handwriting is hideous," he mocks, pointing out that his wife's script is elegant and always includes her private seal. The prince asks for evidence, and Li Mu reaches into his robes. He pulls out a tiny hand-folded paper heart. How sweet is that? Inside is a real poem from his wife, complete with her elegant script and the unique seal he carved for her. The prince takes the real letter to compare it for himself. The difference is night and day. The fake letter looks like it was written in a hurricane compared to the real one. The prince lets out a satisfied smirk as the trap closes. He thinks back to our girl, amazed that a little girl actually managed to succeed in overturning such a massive case. The other officials agree the confession is a total fake. It's officially thrown out as invalid evidence. But the prince isn't done. He asks why the ministry logs are still different from Li Mu's personal letters. Li Mu starts to stutter, the pressure finally getting to him. "Tell the truth or your entire family will be executed immediately," the prince roars. Li Mu breaks down, begging for mercy and promising to tell everything. It turns out his wife was bedridden with a cold, and because their bond is so deep, he stayed by her side and asked someone else to sign the records for him. Tries to shut him up, realizing the blame is shifting right back onto his own head. The prince turns his wrath on the censorate, calling their investigation child's play. Not only are you stupid, you are incompetent, he tells. It collapses to the floor, knowing his career is officially finished. Over at the residence, things are looking pretty tense. A storm's in, looking like he's about to blow a fuse. Meanwhile, his wife Song Hui is smirking to herself, thinking that with her forged distress letter, Li Mu's embezzlement charges are a done deal and the Marquis Manor is headed straight for exile. She's relishing the thought of R's family suffering the same torture she went through in her past life. But the smug look doesn't last long when slams his hand down, demanding to know what happened with that letter. He practically throws her back in a rage. Our villainess is stunned. She's always been able to mimic handwriting perfectly, so how could this have failed? Is screaming now, asking her what on earth she was thinking. It turns out Prince Shen already has love poems Li Mu and Song Yi wrote to each other, and the handwriting doesn't match her forgery at all. Is losing it because the prince called him incompetent, and his dreams of a promotion are officially trashed. Song Hui realizes the timeline is shifting. In her past life, this was the moment he was supposed to rise to power. She tries to play the victim, calling out husband, with a shaky voice. She hits him with the classic guilt trip, asking who he thinks she's been working so hard for all these years. It works and starts to regret his outburst. He remembers how her foresight has helped him jump 2 ranks in just a few years. He pulls her into a hug, apologizing and saying he was just blinded by anger. But Song Hui isn't comforted, she's spiraling. Li Mu never wrote poems in her past life, so why is he doing it for Song Yi now? Cut to Prince Shen's estate where the atmosphere is much more chill, or is it? The prince is lounging in bed, sipping tea while his massive white wolf, Snow Eagle, hangs out nearby. His attendant remarks that Li Mu is incredibly lucky to have such a clever daughter. They talk about how R literally tore up a royal decree to save her family, which is boss-level energy for an 8-year-old. The attendant teases that the prince only helped because he knew Li Mu was innocent. You talk too much, the prince snaps, looking totally annoyed. He nearly takes the man's head off with a thrown tea bowl. He claims he just wants to find a delicious lunch for Snow Eagle. The wolf looks pretty hyped about that idea. The attendant just sighs, calling the prince as stubborn as a rock. But then things get dark. The prince pets the wolf and orders the attendant to fast the animal for a day, then go to the Marquis Manor tomorrow to bring that girl here. Wait, is he planning to feed our heroine to his pets? Even the wolf looks a bit judged by that order. The attendant is horrified, asking if he's really going to give that cute girl to the wolf, but the prince just coldly asks if he's supposed to keep her until New Year's instead. Back at the manor, R lets out a massive sneeze. Who's talking about me, she wonders as the sun begins to rise. Today is the day her father's verdict arrives. She and her mother look out the window and see the worst-case scenario. A squad of imperial guards has arrived with a decree, demanding everyone in the manor kneel to receive it. Immediately, the trashy grandfather starts barking at R and her mom, blaming them for the disaster. He's such a piece of work that he even threatens to beat them to death on the road if they get exiled. The grandmother, who's been bedridden, actually drags herself out to defend them, saying they should just accept their fate as a family. R realizes that in this den of snakes, her grandmother is the only one who truly cares. Of course, the grandfather isn't done being a villain. He screams at the grandmother, calling her a useless woman for spoiling his son. The poor woman starts coughing violently from the stress. R rushes to comfort her, telling her not to be angry. She watches her grandfather and realizes he's not just venting, he's looking for a scapegoat. In her dream of the past life, this man was the one kicking and punching them the moment the exile started. Our girl has had enough. She stands up and challenges him, pointing out that the official hasn't even read the decree yet. The grandfather scoffs, saying there's no use being afraid and blaming her useless father. R suggests that maybe Prince Shen found proof of his innocence, but the old man laughs in her face, saying it'll snow in midsummer before that happens. He declares that once they're exiled, it's every man for himself. R gets a glint in her eye. Then if we aren't exiled, will it still be every man for himself? She asks. The guards are at the door and the tension is at a breaking point. The grandfather sneers, if you're really that lucky, you can run this household from now on. R doesn't hesitate for a second. Deal, she shouts, ready to take over the whole estate. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife as the messenger bellows, Marquis Manor, receive the imperial edict. Everyone is trembling, fearing the worst, but the decree is a total curveball. Li Mu is dismissed and fined, while the Marquis himself gets his salary docked and 20 lashes for being a terrible teacher to his son. Our girl R and her mother are nearly sobbing with relief. Father didn't embezzle anything, we don't have to be exiled. Her mom cries out, realizing their lives aren't over after all. R watches her mother's joy and realizes with a smirk that the tragic plot of this story can actually be changed. The Marquis, however, is absolutely losing it, screaming about how his unfilial brat of a son dragged him down into this mess. The messenger isn't moved by the old man's tantrum, asking coldly, "Marquis, do you have an objection to His Majesty's judgment?" Terrified, the old man can only sweat and stammer as he's told his punishment will be carried out immediately at the front gate for the whole world to see. The sounds of the lashes echo through the street as the high and mighty Marquis gets a taste of humble pie. He's red-faced with pure humiliation, wondering how he'll ever show his face in public again. By the time the guards drag him back inside, he looks like a broken man. R doesn't miss a beat, skipping up to her defeated grandfather to drop a truth bomb. "From now on, I make the decisions in this household," she chirps, reminding him that a man's word should carry weight. The old man can only point a shaky finger, screaming that they are rebelling, but nobody is listening to him anymore. R and her mother are too busy celebrating the fact that they've officially reclaimed the household authority. Just as they're basking in their victory, a familiar face appears. It's Nanny, a maid from Mother's maiden home, claiming the Song family is worried and wants them to visit. Mother agrees, thinking she needs to go back and reassure her parents after all the chaos. But when it's time to get ready, Mother starts putting on the most depressing, drab blue robe you've ever seen. R's jaw practically hits the floor. "Mother, change into another outfit, you don't look nice in this at all," she demands. It turns out Nanny has been gaslighting Mother for years, telling her these plain clothes make her look dignified. But R remembers the truth from her dreams. This Nanny is a spy for a wicked stepmother who wants Mother to look as dowdy and miserable as possible. "Mother, let me help you dress up today," R insists, determined to break the spell. She starts digging through the wardrobe like a pro, while Mother stands there looking like a Victorian ghost. Finally, R finds it, a stunning, vibrant red outfit given to Mother by her husband. Nanny immediately tries to shut it down, claiming it's frivolous and flashy, since the young master is still in trouble. She's desperate to keep Mother looking like a plain Jane to please the old madam back home. Time for R to use her secret weapon, the ultimate guilt trip. She starts wailing, her eyes filling with giant crocodile tears. "You believe Nanny but not R, I don't want to be your daughter anymore," she sobs. Mother panics instantly, pulling her little girl into a hug and promising to listen. R hides a smug grin as Mother finally agrees to the makeover. When the reveal finally happens, Mother looks absolutely breathtaking. She's blushing, looking in the mirror and asking, "Do I really look good?" Mother is the most beautiful person in the whole world, R cheers, beaming with pride. But Nanny just won't quit, trying to scare Mother by saying this look will ruin R's reputation and marriage prospects. She thinks she still has Mother under her thumb. R's eyes turn cold. She's seen enough of this snake's games. "No, this time I have to teach Nanny a lesson," she thinks. She turns to the Nanny with a sweet, terrifying smile and says, "Nanny, come here a moment. I have something to say to you." Nanny is back at it again with her usual Oscar-worthy performance, crying out that she's been humiliated after a lifetime of service. She even threatens to bash her own head in just to make our girl's mother feel guilty. But R isn't buying the drama for a second, telling her mother not to panic because people who actually want to die don't give a play-by-play of their suicide attempt. Mother finally realizes the truth. Nanny has used this same manipulative tactic every single time they've had a disagreement. The Nanny stands there frozen, wondering why on earth no one is rushing over to stop her this time. Suddenly, a splash breaks the silence. Nanny is absolutely drenched, wailing about why the young miss would throw water on her. R just smiles sweetly, asking if the Nanny is blind because she was only trying to wash her eyes out for her. Our tiny leader points out the obvious. If the Nanny wasn't blind, why would she think Mother looks better in drab brown than in these stunning bright colors? She calls out the gaslighting perfectly, asking if Nanny's vision is finally starting to clear up after that little treatment. R even offers to get another kettle of water if the Nanny's blindness persists, which quickly makes the old woman change her tune. Terrified of another soaking, Nanny is forced to admit that Mother's outfit actually looks nice. R beams at her mother, proud that her medical intervention worked. She then wastes no time suggesting that since the Nanny's eyesight is failing, she's no longer fit to serve by Mother's side. As they walk away, the Nanny realizes her years of sabotage are coming to a crashing end. R watches her with a cold gaze, vowing to pay back every bit of suffering this woman caused her mother. Later, as they travel by carriage, R continues her makeover mission, telling her mother that at 26, she's in her prime and should embrace it. She explains that bright colors highlight her fair complexion, while those dark grays only make her look old and tired. Mother admits she only wore them because Nanny claimed they were dignified. R drops a truth bomb. Grandmother was using the Nanny to make sure Mother could never outshine the aunt. When a shocked Mother asks how she could possibly know that, R credits her fairy granny and predicts that the moment they arrive, grandmother will try to force her into something dowdy again. Mother begins to see the web of manipulation she's been living. Sure enough, as soon as they step inside, Lady greets them with fake concern. Mother plays along for now, offering a polite greeting. But right on schedule, Lady starts criticizing the outfit, claiming it's frivolous for someone her age. In reality, she's terrified Mother will overshadow her own daughter, R. She even tries to shove a gray-brown pleated skirt onto her, insisting it's more respectful. Mother clenches her fists, finally feeling the weight of the manipulation R warned her about. Just then the aunt Songhui arrives on the scene. She's dressed in a stunning, vibrant blue silk that's anything but dignified. Lady immediately fawns over her, proving her double standards are as clear as day. R whispers a quick "you can do it" to her mother. And Mother decides it's time to flip the script. She takes the ugly brown garment and hands it right back to her sister, saying, "This is for you." Lady tries to signal the aunt to play along and trick Mother into changing. But the aunt is too busy being offended by the dowdy clothes. Mother stands her ground, claiming she's wearing her bright colors to pray for her husband's safety and wouldn't dream of taking what someone else loves. R then goes in for the kill, asking why the aunt is allowed to dress so frivolously if grandmother hates bright colors so much. Mother doubles down, telling her sister her outfit is far too bright and undignified. R points out the blatant hypocrisy. Grandmother forced Mother to change for the exact same thing. "Is it because you don't love Aunt?" R asks with the most innocent face possible. Lady is left sputtering in rage, completely cornered by an 8-year-old's logic. Our girl just smiles, knowing she's won this round of family warfare. Grandmother is absolutely seething because our girl R and her mother have managed to turn the tables on her. She orders her daughter-in-law to go change her clothes immediately, clearly trying to regain some shred of authority. R is practically glowing with pride, thrilled that everyone who bullied her mother is finally being put in their place. Meanwhile, our resident villainous aunt is having a total meltdown because the plot of her previous life is going completely off the rails. She stares at the happy family, wondering if someone is secretly coaching her sister-in-law to compete with her. As they all sit down for tea, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Aunt decides to go for the throat, demanding to know how her foolish sister-in-law even thought to ask Prince for help. But Song Yi is ready for her. Thanks to a little pre-game coaching from R on the carriage ride over, she's got her script memorized. R just sits there munching away like a tiny mastermind while watching her plan unfold. Song Yi puts on her best damsel in distress act, crying that she was so scared she would have begged a passing dog for help, let alone a prince. Aunt's eye is practically twitching as she wonders if she was just called a dog in a roundabout way. She tries to catch her in a lie about the love poem, but Song Yi just bats her eyelashes and claims the prince was the one who noticed her handwriting. She even turns the interrogation back on the aunt, asking, "Younger sister, do you also have something to ask Prince for?" Aunt forces a smile, convinced that her sister-in-law is still just a lucky idiot. Song Yi keeps the hits coming, acting all embarrassed about her husband's devotion. She starts bragging about how her husband personally teaches her calligraphy, holding her hand the whole time. This is a direct hit to Aunt's ego, as she remembers her own marriage to the same man in her past life was a cold, loveless mess. R decides to twist the knife, innocently asking, "Is it because Uncle doesn't like you?" Aunt is internally screaming, remembering how her current husband has no romantic sense and nearly fell asleep on their wedding night. Songya then goes for the kill, cursing the rotten-hearted person who framed her family, which is exactly what Aunt did. She even begs Aunt to have her husband find this shameless villain. Aunt is forced to play along, promising to help while Songya praises her for being the best. Aunt realizes she's been completely played. She got zero info and just signed up for extra chores. Grandmother finally breaks up the awkwardness by calling everyone to dinner. As they eat, Aunt is still stewing, trying to figure out who ruined her foolproof plan. Her eyes land on our tiny heroine. She watches the little girl eat, wondering if a child could really be the one behind all this. R, being the ultimate troll, offers Aunt a chicken leg with the brightest smile. Aunt rejects it, dismissing the idea that a kid could possibly know anything. But R isn't fooled. She can see the gears turning in Aunt's head and vows to block every nasty plot she comes up with. Finally, the carriage ride home begins. The reality of her family's betrayal hits Songye, and she breaks down in tears, realizing her own sister-in-law was the one who tried to destroy her life. R pulls her mother into a hug, her little heart aching for her. She knows that being heartbroken now is better than being a pawn forever. "Mother, don't be afraid," she whispers, promising that she and her father will always protect her. Songya sobs that she's been a fool her whole life, but R corrects her. She's just too kind for her own good. Our girl tells her to keep crying and let the whole world see her pain because it makes the villains look even worse. Seeing her mother smile through the tears, R remembers a dream where her mom risked her life to save her from wolves. In that moment, she vows to be the shield for her entire family. Suddenly, the carriage lurches to a violent stop. Songyi clutches R, terrified of what's happening. A guard from Prince's residence blocks their path, looking dead serious. He announces that he's here to fetch our girl R on the prince's orders to feed his dog. Talk about a weirdly specific request from a royal. The guard delivers the grim news. By the prince's order, little Li is to be taken to the residence immediately. Our girl doesn't hide, she steps out with a composed landing. "Hello, uncle, we meet again," she chirps, waving as if she isn't being arrested. She's got a plan, though, asking if she can arrange two things before she goes to face the music. Her poor mother is absolutely losing it, screaming for her not to go, but just gives her a gentle, knowing smile. The guard looks on, clearly feeling like the villain in a. Makes a bold promise. "If I don't arrive at Prince Shen's residence within half an hour, uncle, you can come and arrest me yourself." Even the guard thinks it's a crying shame that such a cute kid might end up as lunch for a giant eagle. He agrees to the deadline, warning her that he'll come for her personally if she's late. Hits him with the ultimate weapon, a dazzling smile and a "you really are a good person." As he rides off, Mom tries to jump in, offering to go in place to save her from that dog of a prince. But knows the stakes. If the prince gets truly angry, the entire family is toast. She reassures her mom that she has a secret trick up her sleeve and that immortal Granny is protecting her. After a quick mysterious whisper into her mom's ear, Mom wipes her tears and prepares to carry out the secret instructions. Meanwhile, over at Prince Shen's residence, the man himself is lounging under the trees, mocking his guard for being a total pushover. "Did you forget to bring your brain when you left the house today?" he sneers. He sets a brutal timer. If the girl isn't there in 30 minutes, is getting 20 lashes. The half-hour mark hits, and the prince is ready to start the punishment, convinced his guard was played by an 8-year-old. But just as is about to take the hit, our girl comes skipping into the courtyard. She looks absolutely precious and totally unbothered. The prince is genuinely stumped. Is she brave or just a complete airhead? Is just relieved he kept his skin. Pays her respects with perfect etiquette. But the prince just scoffs. Without a hint of mercy, he gives the command, "Throw this girl to Snow Eagle." Az leads her away. Suddenly stops. "Wait, I need to grab my things," she says. She runs over to a massive basket and tries to lug it along. She puts on a world-class performance, struggling and panting with the heavy load, until she drops it with a thud. "Uncle, the basket is so heavy," she pouts. Naturally, the guard's heart melts and he offers to carry it for her. He's practically in tears, wondering how the prince could be so cruel to such a sweet soul. When they reach the gate, it takes a deep breath. He tells to wait outside while he goes in to beg the prince for her life, even if it means he gets whipped instead. Just watches him go, looking totally confused. Why does Uncle look so solemn and tragic? She wonders, completely missing the fact that he thinks she's about to be eaten. Snow Eagle, the massive white wolf, is happily playing in the courtyard, chewing on its favorite ball. But R knows this beast is more than just a pet. She struggles to drag a massive basket toward the predator, which immediately snaps into hunter mode. Our girl remembers her premonition where this wolf was starved for 2 days, and her heart starts racing. "Snow Eagle, you're a smart boy, right? Maybe you don't eat me, okay?" she pleads, trying to negotiate with a literal wolf. The wolf's eyes glow with a menacing light as it prepares to pounce. It lunges with a ferocious bark, and R lets out a terrified scream. The courtyard echoes with a loud woof. Just then, His Highness and his guard arrive on the scene. The guard is absolutely baffled by what he sees. He points toward the lawn in shock, while His Highness looks on, surprisingly intrigued by our little heroine's antics. Instead of being a snack, R is actually safe and acting all cute with the wolf. "Look at this, she constructed a fake R out of raw meat and vegetables. Which piece do you want first? How about you start with my head?" She giggles, pointing at a mushroom-faced bun. She even suggests starting with the legs made of skewers. The guard can't believe his eyes. The decoy is disturbingly lifelike. His Highness looms over her, his shadow casting a chill. "Your body may be small, but your courage certainly isn't," he remarks, unimpressed by her trickery. But R just flashes a bright smile, reminding him that he said Snow Eagle likes the most tender meat. She explains that she spent all morning scouring the market for the best cuts just for this. He glares down at her. "You still dare to argue?" he demands. Unfazed, our girl claps back. "I promised to feed Snow Eagle, but I never said I'd use my own flesh." She points out that he never explicitly stated she had to be the main course. The guard is secretly impressed. No one has ever had the guts to find a loophole in the prince's words before. He accuses her of picking apart his words, but she just plays the innocent card. Why not let Snow Eagle choose for himself? She suggests with a mischievous glint in her eye. His Highness turns to the wolf and commands, choose. R leans in close to the beast. Cute Snow Eagle, which me do you want to eat? She asks. She holds up a massive slab of prime steak, promising it's tasty and nutritious. The poor wolf is having a total internal crisis, looking back and forth between its master and the delicious meat. Finally, it takes a decisive step and chomps down on the steak with a happy howl. Look, Your Highness, he made his choice. He likes this me much better, she chirps triumphantly. His Highness is fuming, muttering about his useless mutt. A dark smirk crosses his face as he realizes he's been outsmarted by a child. But the fun ends there. He reaches for his hilt and draws his sword, pointing the cold steel right at her throat. You think I'd be so easily tricked? He growls. He pokes her forehead, realizing her tough exterior was just a facade. Our girl is left blinking in confusion, her brain probably buffering like a bad internet connection. Since you're scared, then be honest, he commands, his gaze turning razor sharp as he demands to know the meaning behind the words she wrote. The paper simply says, R drops a bombshell explaining that is the name of the lost eldest prince, his own blood nephew. She claims that in a dream, she saw that the prince is currently in. The news hits him like a freight train. 6 years ago, the prince vanished during the chaos of war, leaving the imperial family in despair. We see the heartbreaking memory of a woman desperately fleeing through the rain with 2 children. She had blamed herself ever since, crying out for the boy who never returned. He isn't buying the dream excuse and pinches her cheek hard. Speak, is the Marquis Manor in league with traitors? He roars, suspecting her family of treasonous secrets. R tearfully defends her father, insisting he values family over any power-hungry court ladder. He lets her go but remains skeptical, demanding to know how a child could possibly possess such vital intel. That's my secret, she replies, boldly stating she's already repaid her debt to him. She even has the audacity to ask for a favor renewal fee for more information. That was the wrong move. He draws his sword, his voice cold as ice as he asks if she's intentionally provoking him. But our girl stands her ground. Even if your highness cuts off my head, I still can't say, she declares. The white wolf, Snow Eagle, watches the tension escalate with wide eyes. Suddenly, it goes off in the pup's head. Before the blade can strike, the wolf lunges forward, shielding R with its own body. R hugs her fluffy savior, thanking him for the backup. They both hunker down on the grass, a united front against the prince's wrath. It's a full-on submission pose, showing they aren't looking for a fight. All right, you little traitor, he mutters, punishing the wolf with a 3-day food ban. The poor pup looks like his whole world just ended. Suddenly, the prince begins coughing violently, and it's not just a tickle in his throat, it's blood. The crimson stains the grass, revealing a grim reality. His attendant rushes over, begging to call a physician, but the prince stubbornly refuses. R is stunned. She knew from her dreams that he was sick, but she didn't expect him to be this far gone at only 12 years old. Wiping the blood from his mouth, he decides to spare her life for now, thanks to the wolf's intervention. R bows low, thanking him for the mercy. She reveals the prince is likely south of city. He walks away with a final chilling warning: if she's lying, she's dead. The attendant, Uncle gives her a literal thumbs up for having the guts to survive the prince's blade. R thanks him, feeling the weight of the world lift off her shoulders as she realizes she actually survived this hurdle. As the men walk away, can't help but look amused. I didn't kill her, that makes you happy, the prince grumbles. Smiles, knowing his master never actually intended to turn the girl into dog food. The prince claims his mercy is just an illusion. Asks why he had to scare the poor child so much. But the prince knows better. Do you really think she acts like an 8-year-old? He asks. To him, she's as sharp as a tack. Recalls another kid who ran away like a frightened mouse. But R actually dared to bargain. As they walk, the prince reflects on their previous failed searches. He orders to keep a close eye on the Marquis Manor and our girl. No matter what the truth is, he's determined to find it out. Headmaid is practically having a heart attack as R finally steps out of the palace. But her relief turns to pure horror when she spots the blood on our girl's neck. R just gives her a calm smile, insisting it's just a small wound and they need to head home immediately. As they settle into the carriage, R looks completely drained from the confrontation. But wait, did the floorboards just move? Suddenly, a giant, fluffy white head pops out from under the seat. Soul nearly leaves her body as she screams, asking where on earth this dog came from. R realizes this isn't just any stray, it's Prince's personal pet, Snow Eagle. Is shaking like a leaf. If the prince thinks they kidnapped his favorite hound, they are absolutely finished. But our girl doesn't seem worried, she's too busy giving the big floof a massive hug. R tries to be the responsible one and offers to take him back to the residence, but Snow Eagle aggressively shakes his head no. It looks like this dog is officially on strike and has no intention of going back to his master. I definitely don't dare keep him at the Marquis Manor, R sighs even as the dog nuzzles into her. Their ride is interrupted by the sound of desperate wailing. Outside, a massive crowd is being herded like cattle. R explains that this is a corrupt official's entire family being sent into exile. Adds that Lord was a real piece of work, taking bribes and neglecting his duties. But there's a personal sting to this scene. Lord is the one who forged the signatures to frame R's father. If our girl hadn't played her cards right and begged Prince for help, that could have been her own family in those chains. The scene turns brutal as a young girl from the family sobs, clinging to her nanny. The nanny falls to her knees, begging the officer to let her go into exile just to stay with her young miss. But the officer is a total monster. He sneers that the old hag isn't on the exile list and starts lashing her with a whip, telling her to get lost or die. The sound of the whip hitting flesh echoes through the street. The little girl tries to shield her nanny, screaming for the man to stop. Through her tears and pain, the nanny presses a jade hairpin into the girl's hand. Take this, sell it for money, and live well, she whispers, knowing this is their final goodbye. Watching the girl's heart-wrenching tears, R is hit with a wave of trauma. She remembers her own mother shielding her the exact same way in her past. They're all using their lives to protect the person most important to them, she realizes, her eyes darkening. The officer raises his whip one last time, snarling that a lowly slave shouldn't hinder official duty. He's about to land a fatal blow when a tiny, commanding voice rings out, "Stop." R steps out of the carriage, reminding the officer that under great law, even a master beating a servant to death is considered murder. The officer turns, his face twisting in rage. "What brat from nowhere dares block the Ministry of Justice?" he demands, threatening her with the whip. Is terrified, trying to pull our girl back. But R just gives him a smug, confident look. Is panicking, but R tells her not to be afraid. The guard just laughs, mocking their shabby carriage and calling her a fake noble. "Get out of my way," he roars, swinging the whip with all his might. Dives to protect R. But she doesn't need to. A white blur launches from the carriage like a missile. Snow Eagle tackles the guard, pinning him to the dirt and snapping his jaws inches from the man's throat. The guard is suddenly singing a different tune, begging for his life as the dog growls like a wolf. R calmly pats the good boy, promising him extra drumsticks for the assist. The guard's face turns ghostly white as he recognizes the animal. This is Prince's legendary pet. "You're in luck," R says with a chillingly sweet smile. His Highness just punished him with 3 days of no food, and the moment we step outside, a meal walks right up to him. Internally, our girl is laughing. She's totally bluffing, but if you're going to use someone's name to intimidate a bully, you might as well go big. This terrified guard is starting to realize he bit off way more than he can chew, regretting the moment he ever laid a hand on an old woman. Meanwhile, our girl R is casually wiping Snow Eagle's paws, feeling like a total boss now that she has a massive wolf backing her up. She points a finger at the shivering guards and commands, "Have someone carry this mama away and take good care of her." The guards are practically shaking in their boots, bowing and scraping as they scramble to follow her orders. Nanny Tao shares a tearful goodbye with her young lady, but R tells her to focus on healing her injuries for now. Our heroine stands tall, watching the scene with a heavy heart. But just as the guards try to lead Nanny Tao away, she breaks free and throws herself at R's feet. "Please, kind little benefactor," she wails, her head hitting the pavement. "Have mercy and save my young lady." She begs R to protect the 9-year-old girl, who has no one left in the world to shield her from the cruelty of exile. R hesitates, her face shadowed with a sudden, painful realization. "I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do," she whispers, her eyes welling with tears. She knows that while she can bully a few guards using Prince's name, she doesn't have the power to overturn an official imperial edict of exile. Nanny Tao collapses in a heap, sobbing as the harsh reality of their fate sinks. "For us lowly folk, our fate was probably decided by heaven long ago," she laments, her spirit finally breaking. As the guards drag the little girl away, Nanny Tao offers one final, desperate bow of gratitude. The young girl looks back, tears streaming down her face as Nanny Tao's final advice echoes in the air. "No matter how hard it gets, staying alive is the only thing that matters. As long as you're alive, there's hope." Looking at the girl's crying face, R is suddenly struck by a horrific memory from her past life. In her dreams of that dark future, she remembers her own mother being dragged away by those beasts in human skin during their own exile. Her mother would return, battered and bruised, only to hug R tightly and repeat those same words. As long as my R is alive, it's enough. Her mother's only wish was for her survival. Seeing Miss being led away, R realizes this girl has to face that same nightmare all alone without a family to shield her. Wiping her own tears away. Our girl hardens her gaze. I want to help her if I can, she resolves. She rushes forward and pulls the young girl aside, leaning in to whisper some crucial survival advice. Miss looks up, stunned by the sudden kindness. R knows she can't stop the exile, but she can at least give the girl a fighting chance. R then turns her attention back to the lead guard. With a look that could kill, she warns him, I don't care about the others, but you must protect her all the way to the place of exile. Her voice drops to a chilling tone as she adds, or else, I will definitely take your life. Snow Eagle backs her up with a terrifying, red-eyed snarl that sends the guard into a panicked frenzy of bowing. With her mission accomplished, R heads back, promising her loyal wolf some extra chicken drumsticks for being such a good boy. Later, as they travel back in a carriage, R hugs her fluffy protector. Her attendant sister is worried sick, wondering if Prince will be furious when he finds out they used his name to threaten government officials. R just shrugs it off, though she secretly worries the prince might try to feed her to Snow Eagle if he gets truly angry. But R's mind is already on her next move. She tells to go back and buy nanny Tao. Is confused since they have plenty of servants, but R knows better. Our family isn't short of people, but we lack truly dependable ones, she explains, recognizing that Nanny Tao's loyalty is a rare and valuable treasure. Can't argue with that logic and agrees to the plan. Meanwhile, over at Prince's residence, the guard is giving a full report of the day's chaos. The prince listens intently, his interest piqued when he hears about R's involvement with the family girl. The guard mentions that R whispered for the girl to dress ugly and watch her money to avoid being targeted by the predators on the road. The prince finds this absolutely fascinating. He wonders how a young girl like R knows so much about the filth and dangers of the exile road, while his subordinate thinks she's just a kind-hearted little girl. The prince has a more cynical and intrigued outlook. He stops the guard from bringing her back for questioning. A dark, playful smirk crosses his face as he contemplates her boldness. Little girl, I've just extended an extra favor to you, he muses. I wonder if you'll be able to repay it this time. Oh boy, our heroine just landed herself right back on the radar of the most dangerous man in the kingdom. As for the mysterious Snow Eagle, our tiny leader R is currently hiding out, but she's not the only one feeling the heat. She can sense someone is talking behind her back, and poor Snow Eagle feels it too. The two share a look of pure confusion. But before R can say a word, the wolf decides he's had enough, grabs a chicken leg and bolts. Hey Snow Eagle, come back, she calls out. But the wolf is gone, and R figures he's probably just homesick for Prince's place. She heads back inside only to find a much bigger problem waiting for her. Her mother is absolutely sobbing, and our girl is instantly on high alert. Mother, what happened? Didn't you go see father today? She asks, her heart sinking. She demands an explanation from the maids, and the news is grim. They only have 2,000 taels to their name. Her mother explains that the Marquis, R's own grandfather, refused to help and even scolded them for being spendthrifts. If they can't pay the fine by tomorrow, her father is going to be flogged. R realizes the family manor is basically broke, and they'll never scrape the money together in time. Don't cry, mother, R will think of a way, she promises, though her mother is skeptical about how a child could possibly find that much silver. Suddenly, the resident snake nanny slithers in, claiming she has a way to raise the funds. What way? The mother asks, desperate for any hope. The nanny suggests selling off the mother's dowry shops, thinking to herself that these two are finally at her mercy. Mother hesitates, knowing those shops are their only source of daily income. But nanny pushes harder, insisting that saving the heir comes first and offering to help find a buyer quickly. Mother looks to R for guidance, trusting the girl's sharp instincts. R plays along, asking the nanny which shops they should sell, the study treasures shop or the grain and oil shop. The nanny claims business is hard and they won't get a good price, trying to lowball the value. Oh, is that so? R asks, her eyes narrowing. She tells the nanny to stand right in front of her and repeat that, making the old woman break into a cold sweat. Little does the nanny know, R has seen the truth in her dreams and knows exactly what's going on. Those shops are actually making a killing, but nanny and the grandmother have been secretly pocketing all the profit for years. The nanny tries to act tough, telling herself she won't be intimidated by a little brat. She bursts into fake tears, wailing about how her loyal heart is being treated with suspicion. R just stands there watching the performance with an unimpressed look. Suddenly she screams, "Ah, nanny, what happened to your face? It looks ruined." The nanny panics, clutching her cheeks in a frenzy. But R just tilts her head. "Huh, you've been crying for so long, so why isn't there a single tear on your face?" Caught red-handed, R calls her out for the fake performance. And the nanny tries to stammer out an excuse. "We never said we wouldn't sell," R smirks, "so why the act?" The nanny pathetically claims she was just scared when R reached for the kettle. Mother is still too worried about the father to see through the drama. Wiping her eyes as the clock ticks down, R decides to let the snake go for now. "Fine, go to town and find a buyer before dark, nanny." The nanny scurries off as fast as her legs can carry her. As R watches her go, a devious glint enters her eyes. The real show is about to begin. Our girl is definitely cooking up something special for this traitor, so don't go anywhere. Our girl R gently wipes away her mother's tears, whispering for her not to worry. The poor woman is at her breaking point, admitting that as long as her daughter is by her side, she can finally feel at ease. R urges her mother to get some sleep, promising that they'll face their problems together in the morning. But as she holds her mother, R's mind is racing. She knows that the people they call family, Aunt Song Hui and Nanny, are actually the ones holding the knife to her mother's heart. It's a painful reality to face, but R knows her mother has to see the truth if she's ever going to grow strong enough to survive this nest of vipers. Late into the night, while the rest of the manor sleeps, R's mother cries out for her husband in her dreams. Seeing her mother so broken, R's resolve hardens. She's not going to let anyone hurt her family anymore. She quietly slips out of bed and calls for sister. When the maid enters, wondering what the little miss could possibly want at this hour, R pulls her clothes and whispers a secret plan that needs to be set in motion first thing in the morning. The sun rises on a brand new day of schemes. Nanny waltzes in with a fake smile, claiming she ran all over the city to find someone willing to buy their shops, and tells the young madam to get ready to sign the contract. Our heroine's mother is thrilled, thinking this is the miracle they needed. She calls out, "R, let's go." And our tiny leader is more than ready to play her part. Nanny tries to block her, claiming there's nothing fun about a business meeting. But R hits her with a look that says she knows exactly what's up, asking, "Is it because you feel guilty?" The old hag nearly chokes on her own spit before relenting, nervously telling the young miss to come along then. Internally, Nanny is seething, calling R a yellow-haired brat who can't even read a contract, confident that once these shops are sold, she can retire and live like a queen. She watches them walk away, unaware she's walking straight into a trap. They arrive at Sheng, and R keeps a tight grip on her mother's hand as they enter. Waiting for them is the buyer, a man named. Nanny wastes no time, pushing the contract forward and announcing the price is 3,000 taels for both shops. Mother knows the price is a total lowball, but she's desperate to save her husband. Just as she dips her brush to sign away their future, R screams, "Wait." Everyone freezes and Nanny looks like she's about to explode. R points out a massive red flag. The contract only mentions the buildings, but sister confirmed the shops are currently packed with expensive brushes, ink, and grain. R asks if they should move the goods home first or if they're just giving them away for free. Nanny tries to play it off, claiming the goods are obviously included. "Then why isn't it written in the contract?" R demands. Mother tells Nanny to add the inventory to the document before she signs, but the nanny is panicking. She was planning to sell that stock on the side and pocket the gold herself. She tries to lie, claiming the stock is worthless junk. The buyer joins the act, slamming the table and threatening to walk away from the shabby shops if they keep dragging this out. Nanny turns up the heat, reminding Mother that if the fine isn't paid in an hour, the heir will receive 5 more lashes. Torn between her husband's safety and the obvious scam, Mother looks to R for guidance. R firmly shakes her head no. Seeing her daughter's conviction, Mother finds her backbone. "We're not selling the shops," she declares, "we'll find another way." Nanny's jaw hits the floor. She can't believe her retirement plan just went up in smoke. She glares at R, cursing the wretched girl for talking too much. Suddenly, Nanny lunges forward and grabs R. She forces a smile, claiming she's taking the young miss out to get a snack so the adults can talk. R struggles in her grip, shouting for the nanny to let her go. As she's dragged away, R realizes Nanny has officially crossed the line, and now she's going to make sure the old traitor is dealt with once and for all. R screams for her mother not to sign that contract, revealing the shocking truth that Nanny has been stealing all the profits for herself. Mother is absolutely floored, demanding to know what is going on. The nanny tries to play it off as nonsense, claiming the family heir is waiting for the money, and tells Mother to sign quickly while literally muzzling R to keep her quiet. But our girl isn't going down without a fight. She chomps down on the nanny's hand with a savage, sending the old hag reeling in pain. R is tossed to the floor in the chaos. Mother immediately rushes to her side, panicked. Are you all right? Did you hurt yourself when you fell? She cries, pulling her daughter into a protective embrace. Nanny is fuming, ready to slap a child to teach her a lesson, while R puts on a masterful performance, begging for mercy just to highlight the nanny's cruelty. Finally, Mother has had enough of the disrespect and snaps. Just what do you think you're doing? The mask is off now as the nanny drops the act and threatens that if the contract isn't signed, nobody is walking out of that room alive. Suddenly, the doors are kicked open by the authorities. Lord Wei, the assistant magistrate of, steps in with a report of a wicked servant abusing her mistress. Our little genius R smirks, everything is going exactly according to her plan. She immediately turns on the waterworks, crying that they were being bullied and forced to sell their shops. To seal the deal, she pulls up her sleeve to show off a nasty bruise. Thank goodness you arrived in time or they would have beat me to death, she sobs, making sure the nanny looks like a total monster. Mother is horrified to see the physical proof of the abuse her daughter suffered right under her nose. With fire in her eyes, she demands, "My lord, arrest her at once." Lord Wei doesn't need to hear another word and orders his guards to drag the two of them off to the office for questioning. Nanny tries to scream that she's been wronged. But Lord Wei shuts her down instantly, noting that he witnessed the abuse with his own eyes. He then asks Mother to accompany them to provide a formal statement. Still shaken, Mother agrees to go right away. As the villains are hauled off in disgrace, the family maid rushes in, hoping she wasn't too late to help. R gives her a sweet smile, whispering that her timing was actually perfect. Mother finally puts the pieces together, realizing her little girl orchestrated this entire sting operation. R gives a simple, confident yes. She explains to her mother that Nanny was never loyal, she was just a snake in the grass. For years, the woman used Mother's dowry and position to keep her isolated and in the dark. The realization hits Mother like a ton of bricks and she starts to break down. She never imagined her most trusted confidant was working against her from the very start. R gently consoles her, telling her not to be sad because seeing these people for who they truly are makes the day worth it. Mother pulls R close, sobbing with gratitude that she has such a brilliant daughter by her side. Later, as they arrive at the magistrate's office, R asks if Mother knows what to say to Lord Wei to close the trap. Mother is more than willing to take direction now, asking if R has any suggestions. Our girl pulls her in close, whispering the exact words needed to ensure their victory. She reminds Mother that getting their money back and saving Father depends entirely on her performance now. Mother steals her resolve, promising to do her absolute best. But R knows the rabbit hole goes even deeper. It turns out Nanny was just a pawn. The true mastermind behind this entire plot is none other than the grandmother, Madam. I've been wronged, I was just here to buy some shops, it's got nothing to do with me. The old hag cries out, trying to play the victim card. But our girl isn't having any of it, pointing out to the judge that her shops were clearly turning a profit and there was no logical reason for her to sell them. This servant not only embezzled my money, but she colluded with this man to trick me into selling my property for dirt cheap, she declares, exposing the whole rotten scheme. You're talking nonsense, the nanny screams, but the guards quickly force her to her knees, telling her to behave herself. The nanny tries to pivot, blaming R for the whole mess, but our tiny leader just clings to her mom's robes with wide, innocent eyes. Listen to what you're saying, Nanny, I'm just a little kid, what would I know? She says, playing the clueless child card perfectly while the nanny seethes. The judge has heard enough of the back and forth and slams his gavel down with a resounding crack. A wicked servant bullying her mistress and colluding in fraud, give these two 20 strokes each first, he bellows. The sounds of heavy wooden planks hitting flesh fill the room as the two scammers scream for mercy under the brutal punishment. Once they're sufficiently tenderized, the judge stands over them, giving them one last chance to confess who they were really working for if they want a lighter sentence. He starts a cold, intimidating countdown and the pressure is visible on their faces. By the time he hits 1, the nanny's resolve snaps like a dry twig. I'll confess, all the money went a lady, she shrieks, desperate to stop the pain. The judge demands to know who this lady is and the accomplice quickly spills the beans. She's his aunt and the wife of Lord Song, the Vice Minister of Rights. Our girl stands there in total shock as the truth hits her like a physical blow. Every sweet word and mother-daughter bond she thought she had with her stepmother was nothing but a cruel, calculated lie. This woman wasn't just dressing her poorly to ruin her reputation. She was a puppet master secretly plotting to steal every cent of her inheritance. Realizing her stepmother was trying to steal her birth mother's dowry and essentially leave her family for dead, our girl is pushed to the edge of a breakdown. But R is right there to anchor her. Mother, don't cry, R is here, she says, grabbing her sleeve to comfort her. We can get our silver back and save father, the little one reminds her. Seeing her daughter's strength, our girl wipes her eyes and vows to become stronger for R's sake. Your Excellency, I want to confront Lady face to face, she demands, her voice full of newfound resolve. Moments later, the stepmother herself arrives at the court, stepping past the beaten bodies of her minions without a hint of guilt. She immediately puts on her mask of concern, acting like the most loving parent in the world. My good daughter, how did things end up with you at the yamen? She asks with fake sweetness. She reaches out and grabs our girl's hands, trying to maintain her doting mother persona. Our girl just stares back, wondering how someone can hide such a black, vicious heart behind such a gentle smile. The stepmother realizes her usual tricks aren't working anymore, as our girl doesn't fall for the act and remains silent. The judge doesn't waste time with the pleasantries, confronting the stepmother with the confession that she was the one who ordered the fraudulent sale. The stepmother immediately turns on the waterworks, gasping in shock. I've raised my stepdaughter since she was small and treated her with all my heart. Why would I use such filthy tricks now? She wails, playing the ultimate victim. When the judge asks if her associates are slandering her, she just plays dumb, claiming she has no idea why they'd say such things. She even has the audacity to try and turn it back on our girl, suggesting she's only making these accusations because she's desperate for money to pay her husband's fines. How can she say such slander about me so easily? Our girl thinks, absolutely stunned by the woman's shamelessness. But R is watching the whole scene with a sharp gaze, knowing she has to find a way to stop this woman from talking her way out of justice. Grandmother is laying it on thick, acting like she's just worried about our girl's future marriage prospects. But R isn't buying it for a second, thinking to herself that the old lady is quite the actress. She tries to guilt-trip Songyi into withdrawing the case, claiming family drama shouldn't be public and promising to borrow money for them later. Look at that smug face, she really thinks she can just wait for her daughter-in-law to crawl back and beg for forgiveness. But Songyi has finally reached her limit, remembering all the times her stepmother used virtue as a weapon to keep her down. Back then, every time she wanted to learn business or art, she was told only low-class women did such things, while her sister was allowed to do whatever she wanted. Those words weren't advice, they were shackles designed to keep her a prisoner in her own home. But no more. I won't withdraw, I don't want to be controlled anymore, she shouts, finally breaking free from the manipulation. Grandmother is absolutely floored that the obedient Songyi is actually defying her. Before the old bat can recover, R jumps in to twist the knife, asking if she even knows why they're. She points out that they need that money back because R's father is literally being flogged as they speak, and he won't survive it without the silver. Grandmother tries to act confused, but our tiny leader reminds her that Lord Wei already ruled against the wicked servants who bullied their mistress. R reveals that the nanny confessed to cooking the books and claimed the whole thing was grandmother's idea. The servants are sweating bullets now that the truth is coming out. Grandmother screeches that they're all lying just to smear her good name. But R traps her instantly, lying, does that mean Lord Wei's judgment was wrong? The old lady freezes because criticizing a fourth-rank official is a one-way ticket to disaster. She stammers that the judgment was correct, which is exactly what R wanted to hear. So that means grandmother really did take the silver? R chirps, hugging her leg and pretending to be a sweet, concerned granddaughter. She uses grandmother's own logic against her, crying about how admitting this in court would disgrace the family and ruin her marriage chances. When grandmother shoves the brat away in a panic, R plays the victim card perfectly, calling her awful. The old lady is left speechless, vibrating with rage and unable to find a comeback. Songyi is beaming with pride, realizing her daughter just used her stepmother's own words to dismantle her. Since you admitted it, hurry and give us our money back, R demands. Grandmother is fuming, realizing she's been completely played by an 8-year-old. She tries one last desperate move, putting on a fake, creepy smile and asking if R forgot how much she dotes on her. She claims she could never bear to snatch money from them, trying to gaslight the child. R just tilts her head with a confused "what's going on then" face. She immediately turns to the magistrate, begging for help. The magistrate slams his gavel and asks the bookkeeper if the accounts are finished. The report is devastating. 16,000 silver was embezzled from the two shops over the last 8 years. R smirks, knowing her plan to bring both the real and fake ledgers worked like a charm to speed up the process. She tells her mother the good news: their shops were actually gold mines all along. Songya looks at the groveling nanny, heartbroken that someone she trusted could be so rotten and deceptive. Together, mother and daughter bow before the official, demanding that justice finally be served for their family. Lady is absolutely fuming, cursing out the fool, Songyi, for actually having the brains to check the ledgers this time. She glares at Nanny, who is trembling like a leaf, terrified that her mistress is about to throw her under the bus. Before the nanny can even finish a sentence, Lady delivers a massive slap that echoes through the room. "Silence," she shrieks, accusing the poor nanny of being a disloyal snake for stealing from the family. She leans in close, whispering a chilling threat. If the nanny doesn't shut up and take the fall, her entire family will be punished without mercy. Nanny's heart sinks as she realizes Lady is holding her children's lives over her head. She starts weeping, regretting the day she ever listened to these greedy schemes instead of staying loyal to our girl's mother. Seeing no way out, she bows her head and confesses to pocketing the profits herself, while Lady smirks, thinking she's completely off the hook. But then our little genius R steps up with a suspicious look on her face, asking exactly where all that money could be hidden. Lady tries to play it cool, suggesting the nanny probably spent it all, but R isn't buying that garbage for a second. "Why don't we go search the Song residence?" our girl's daughter suggests with a cheeky grin. The official, Lord Wei, thinks that's a fantastic idea, but Lady's face goes pale as she screams that they can't search her husband's bedchamber. Lord Wei just smiles, pointing out that he never said anything about a bedchamber, only the servants' quarters, and she basically just confessed she's hiding something. Lady realizes she just played herself and stammers like a fool while Lord Wei loses his patience. He slams his hand down, warning Nanny that if the silver isn't found, her entire family will be beaten to death today. That threat is the final straw for the nanny, who realizes she's dead if she stays quiet and dead if she doesn't. She snaps, pointing a finger right at Lady and screaming that the silver is hidden in a bedside cabinet in a wooden box. Lady's face turns into a mask of pure horror while R celebrates the win. Just as the search is about to start, the aunt Song R barges into the court claiming the money has already been found. Lord Wei is annoyed at the interruption, but the aunt presents a wooden box filled with silver notes. She spins a ridiculous lie, saying she saw the nanny bring the money to Lady and they simply thought it was a gift from our heroine. Lady instantly flips the script, pretending she was just frightened silly and didn't connect the dots earlier. She has the audacity to tell our girl to stop clinging to the matter now that the money is back. But R isn't letting them escape that easily, calling out the hypocrisy of them only caring about family now that they've been caught red-handed. Lady is seething that a tiny brat's words hit like a slap to the face. R keeps roasting them, pointing out they were planning to lend our girl her own stolen money. The aunt tries to silence the kid by pinching her cheeks, but R isn't having it and backs away. To save face, the aunt offers up another 2,000 taels and pressures Lady to do the same to help the family. She tells our girl to stop holding a grudge and just chill. Our poor heroine is close to tears, realizing these people only talk about being one family when they're trying to cover up a scam. She pulls R close, realizing her daughter is the only one she can truly count on in this den of vipers. R asks with a bright smile if this extra money is a loan. Trapped in front of the official, the aunt has to grit her teeth and say it's a gift because family members should help one another. R chirps back that they should go get the cash right now then, telling her mom not to be too polite about taking it. Our girl is stunned at how effortlessly her daughter just fleeced these villains. R waddles over to Lord Wei, asking for the silver notes from the box immediately. The official can't help but chuckle at her boldness as he hands over the notes. With a fist pump of victory, R asks the judge to pass the final judgment quickly so they can get out of there. Our little leader has officially won the day, leaving the villains penniless and humiliated. The confrontation is heating up as our girl finally finds her voice. "You only come to help me after it's turned into such a mess," she spits out, clutching the evidence tightly. "Why did you ignore me completely before?" Lady, ever the manipulative snake, tries to play the victim card by grabbing Songya's hands. "Please don't let such a small matter damage our mother-daughter bond," she pleads with fake sincerity. She even has the audacity to tell her to withdraw the case, promising that mother will personally deal with the wicked servant to vent her anger. But Songyi isn't falling for the good girl act anymore. As she looks at that tearful fake smile, she realizes this so-called bond is 1 part real and 10 parts fake. Suddenly, the memories come flooding back, all the times this woman subtly sabotaged her life. She remembers being dressed in drab, dignified clothes while her stepmother smirked behind her back. She remembers her mother taking her quality hairpins, promising to buy new ones later, only to give them to her younger sister. Worst of all, she remembers being told that girls shouldn't bother with accounts or money because it's just a worldly thing. The realization hits like a freight train. Songyi wasn't born dull, she was made that way by her stepmother's well-meaning guidance intended to keep her powerless. Just as the weight of the betrayal starts to crush her, she feels a tiny hand tugging at her sleeve. It's R reminding her that once the judge rules, they can finally take the silver and save her father. Songye wipes her tears, vowing to become stronger for the sake of her family. R snuggles in, providing the emotional anchor her mother desperately needs. They have a mission and they aren't leaving this court without their money. Lady is losing her cool, screaming that Songye is a fool who doesn't understand what's being said. But our girl decides to use the very weapon her stepmother forged. With a look of pure feigned confusion, she whimpers, I don't understand. She looks up with puppy dog eyes and asks, I'm just a simple woman. Wasn't mother the one who taught me to let officials decide things? Talk about a taste of your own medicine. Lady is absolutely shook, realizing she made her stepdaughter too foolish to be easily manipulated now. The judge has heard enough and slams his gavel down, demanding silence in his court. He rules that the servant and her accomplice are guilty of embezzlement and fraud. Both are sentenced to 50 strokes of the cane and 1 month in custody, he declares firmly. To add a little spice to the punishment, he orders Lady to watch the beating from the side so she learns to keep a better eye on her household. The guilty party tries to beg for mercy, screaming that they've been wronged. But as the cane starts hitting, the servant turns on her master, yelling that it was all Lady's doing. The betrayal goes both ways now, and Lady can only grit her teeth in sweating fury. I hate you, the servant screams as the blows fall, making the stepmother tremble. Lady tries to hide her face, wondering why this wicked servant is glaring at her instead of taking the fall quietly. Meanwhile, Songya shields R from the violence, whispering for her not to be afraid. But our little R isn't scared at all. I will make every person who bullied our family pay for it one by one, she thinks, her eyes burning with a cold resolve. The judge hands over the heavy box of silver, telling Songye it's exactly what she deserves. She accepts it with tears of relief, finally holding the key to her family's survival. R flashes a blindingly sweet smile at the judge, praising him as a truly good man. The judge is totally charmed by the compliment, thinking the little girl has quite a good eye for character. The scene shifts to the grand residence of Prince. Inside the main hall of the manor. The judge, Lord Wei, has come to visit. It's early in the year, but the fire brazier is already roaring, making the room sweltering. Prince, looking as cool and elegant as ever, asks if the office is so empty that the judge has time to hang out. Lord Wei fans himself, complaining that he spent the whole morning being unpaid labor. The prince is intrigued. Who would dare make you, Lord Wei, do unpaid labor? He asks with a smirk. The judge reveals the culprit, a little girl called Li, our very own R. The prince's expression shifts instantly at the mention of her name. As they sit down, the judge recounts the entire dramatic morning at the court. He explains how the little girl put herself in the middle of the mess and designed the whole show from start to finish. She used the government bookkeepers to do her accounting, punished the bad servants, sent a warning to the toxic Song family, and got the silver to save her household. 4 birds with 1 stone, truly clever, the judge muses. He's certain it was R's idea because every time a key turning point came, it was the little girl pushing things forward. He warns the prince that her intelligence is extraordinary, even calling her sharp and noting that she took a huge risk. Lord Wei admits that she seemed completely calm the entire time, and even her surprised expressions felt like they were put on for the audience. It was as though she already knew exactly how everything would unfold. He even wonders if someone in the world actually has the ability to see the future. The prince stays silent, his mind racing as he remembers R mentioning the eldest prince, a secret she shouldn't have known.